For today's Huddle lesson, we're talking about domain and range of quadratics. You should know that domain means x and range means y. If you get those confused, you think about the g looking like a y. Let's take a look at video example number 1. It wants to know what the domain is. Immediately we write an x on top of it. The domain that is greater than or equal to -7 and less than 2. So the smallest number is -7 and the largest number is 2. Well, you remember you're supposed to squish it to the domain. So this entire line gets pressed, flattened, from this point all the way over to this point. So it's flattened up to that line. This is -2 right here, and this is 7. So it's backwards. The smallest number is supposed to be -7, not -2. A is out. We're going to squish this all up to the x-axis or down to the x-axis. So there's one point. This point got brought up, and the line is between those 2 points. So now we have the graph looking the way we need it to. The smallest number here is -3, not -7 like we want. So B is not the answer either. Same thing on C. We bring the points down, and the line gets squished up between them. So in this case, the smallest number is -4. That's not what we want. We want -7. And here we squish it to the x-axis. We flatten it out. The largest value is 2, and the smallest value is -7. That is indeed the answer. Looking at example 2, this one does not give us a graph, but it does give us an equation. So what do we need to do with that equation? If you thought that we need to graph it, you are correct. So go ahead and pause this video until you have it graphed. Alright, if you just tried to graph that and when you hit enter nothing happened in the graph, that's probably because that you tried to type it exactly like it's written there, but you have to use x's instead of w. The calculator starts with f of x equals, that's function notation saying you're going to use the x variable, so you have to use x's in your equation. Now, if you did that, go ahead and try it again, graph it. If you got stuck because once you graphed it, all you saw in your window was something like this or even steeper, that's because it's so zoomed in, and this is a large graph. So how do we get the view so that we can see more of that graph? If you think or thought that we needed to click menu and then window zoom, you were correct. You'd go there and then you'd click zoom out, and you can keep clicking until you can see more of the graph. It comes back down over here at 36. So it starts at 0, goes at 36. The graph of the quadratic continues forever, but we only care about the positive values since we're talking about area. It doesn't make sense to have negative values of lengths or sides perimeter when we're talking about area. So what is the domain? From 36 to 0, we squish this down. It's in between 36 and 0. The answer is J. Moving on to the last video example. This one asks for the range this time, which is y. So we graph that in our calculator. We also know vertex form, so it's up 1. And this time we're not going to squish it to the x-axis. We're not going to flatten it down. Since it's range, we're going to flatten it this direction. So now the vertex is still here, and it's going straight up. They were both brought in. So what is this lowest value right here? Well, that's the vertex value. That's 1. And it's everything above that value, everything greater than 1. So which answer says all real numbers greater than or equal to 1? Alright, if you have questions on any of the rest of the problems, please raise your hand.